how long were you a statist? Because, I was in this mindset too myself for a while, and how did you get out of that?
Yeah. Well, wow, an eagle just flew by. That's pretty, that's an incredible symbol. Wow, symbol of freedom. It happened when I moved to the Amazon rainforest. And so 2014 was my first time in Peru. Um, I would say 2011, I started feeling more and more dysfunctional in a regular society. And I was in university. I was studying multinational communications or multicultural communications and translation sciences. And I was studying to become a simultaneous interpreter. And so in my master's course, part of it was to already start the work. So I actually worked for the Finnish Defense Forces and the UN as an interpreter. And in that experience, I started feeling the cage like more and more. And I didn't have freedom of speech because as an interpreter, you have to just relay messages back and forth. You're not allowed to put any input from your beliefs, from your values. And sometimes that would mean that you are interpreting things that you're morally completely against. So I said, okay, I'm out of this. It started really rubbing me. So I quit the academia. I didn't finish my degree and I just said, screw this. There has to be something more to life. So then I moved to London, started studying theater because I felt there's something there in the arts that has taken me closer to the soul expression of a human being. Something I was very drawn by, that expression when people are actually, you know, communicating with emotion, even if that would be false emotion. But still, that was drawing me outside of this machine-like sterile environment to something alive. And then through the arts, I was taken to many different paths, but I ended up in the healing arts. And so I met my husband. He was in the music industry and he was already drawn to learn the ancestral healing arts. We went to Peru together, and then I sat with ayahuasca, which I'm sure many of the listeners are aware of, is an extremely powerful entheogenic ancient medicine from the rainforest. And so not only did this medicine blew my world apart, but the people and the society, you know, if you can call that a society, these communities in the jungle and their value systems. And I felt like for the first time in my life, I met true human beings,
Hmm.
free beings. And what they were telling me and the way they were communicating and just their presence alone, it was like something started to be tuned in my consciousness. And I started to understand how controlled our existence is in the West. And I
Hmm.
started to see the mental prisons and what I had to purge out of my consciousness and all the imprints. So the first ceremony I ever had, actually, I saw all the, what I now would name black magic of the West imprinted on my consciousness. I saw all the brand names. I saw so many like clips from horror films and violent scenes from movies and pornography and alcohol and drugs and neon lights and all this like carnival of hell basically imprinted into my mind. And I was like, oh my God, is this what's in me? Is this what is inside my mind? And then through these ceremonies, you know, starting to really clear your vision, your memory, your consciousness, starting to experience what it feels like when your mind is your ally. I grew up thinking that my mind is an enemy and that that's central, like that is the fundamental nature of your mind, that your mind is always nagging, is always worried, is always anxious, you know, that you never feel peace. I thought that's just the human mind. And this is why I thought, well, with meditation, you try and get out of the mind, you try and silence the mind. Well, with all that junk there, you can't do that. But when you have these incredible plants that are installed in this creation for the purpose of cleaning ourselves, like purifying ourselves spiritually and energetically, you begin to see, wow, this is what an indigenous man's or woman's mind is like. Wow, this is the level of clarity I can have. This is the level of vision I can have and memory. So I started experiencing what is freedom mentally. And then that was the domino that just blew open everything. You know, I was already a conspiracy theorist before that, but it wasn't embodied. It wasn't this embodied realization of how diabolical is the Western culture and how enslaved we are on so many levels, that it's not enough just to say, I choose not to pay taxes or I don't pay fines or whatever. What is inside here? Am I free in here? Am I free in here? Because if not, you're still a slave.
Mm,
So this is why I'm interested in the spiritual freedom. And
yeah.
I see that when you get there, when you really own your mind, when your mind is your ally, your friend, it's serving you, from that place, whatever action you do will have just tremendous, you know, force behind it. It will have different sort of resonance.